as Nick Faldo would say, is you can't find balance during the swing. It's got to start at your neutral position. But what we did is we tested every single golf shoe out there, and you may be surprised to know that 90% of the shoes at a neutral position force your weight from the middle of the ball of your foot to the toes. And that is wrong. It should be forcing it from the middle of the ball of your foot back. Between the heel and the middle of the ball of foot, that's where the swing happens. That's where you generate power from.
Golf Smarter, number 814. Nick Faldo, John Daly, Jim McLean all wear SQAIRZ golf shoes because of results, with CEO Bob Winscowicz.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Bob.
Good to see you again.
Good to talk to you as well. Yeah, well, we get to see each other, but nobody else does. You know, last time you were on the show, in April of 2020, you were introducing this new product that I'm like, why am I doing a show about shoes? And little did I know that it was a good move to jump on early, because you have become much higher profile since the last time we spoke. And I'm talking about SQAIRZ without the U. SQAIRZ, SQAIRZ shoes. You can't watch much golf these days without being introduced to these shoes, man. Congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're excited. You know, you were one of the first. You were one of the first people that gave us an opportunity to come on the air and talk a little about what we hope to do. And I'll never forget when, you made that decision to say, you know what, I think there might be something here. Let me have you on the show. And here we are more than about a year and a half later. And yeah, we've come a long way, Fred. So it's great to be back. Really, it's great to be back with you.
So please take us on the journey. What has gone on in a year and a half that has made you noticeable? Because that's not an easy thing to do in the golf industry.
You know, you're right. But I tell people that, you know, when I got into this, I started this, is that we did a lot of research prior to introducing the shoe. And people always ask me, well, why the square toe? And I go back to, and I answer it this way. I say, you know, when Ely Callaway created the Big Bertha and he looked at perimeter weighting. He was in search of perimeter weighting. And so as was Karsten Solheim. And when they got done, the look of the club was a result of the science. It wasn't the other way around. They didn't dictate the look, you know, and then find the science. And this is what it did for us, is we started out with this, letting the science dictate the design. So it was kind of what we call visual technology, very similar to Ping at the time, or the Big Bertha. When it came out, it was oversized. People, what the heck is that? You know? So people stand up and take notice. I mean, how many times you go to a tee box with people you don't know and you want to talk about the shoe? It's about the new driver and the new iron you're playing and this and that. And so it's noticeable. You know, it's something that is visually different. So that's how it all began. And then we started hiring companies to do independent testing. We got Golf Labs, which is Gene Parenti, and then we hired Terry Hashimoto. And Terry was a co-founder of BodyTrack, which is the number one selling pressure mapping system. And we said, listen, we have a lot of ideas as to why people are increasing their distance with this shoe. And, you know, we had a lot of people stand up and say, wait a minute, you can't, distance isn't created by a golf shoe. You know, how is that possible? And before I get into Terry, I'll take a quick detour and say, distance is created by one thing, swing speed. Now, how is swing speed created? Swing speed is created by the ground, gravity, and body mass. Okay, so it's a ground, gravity, and body mass. So can a golf club create swing speed? No. Can a golf ball create swing speed? No. You create swing speed by your connection to the ground. It's called ground reaction force. You throw energy into the ground, it comes back up through you, down the club, into the club head, and into the ball. So the club, for all intent and purpose, is a recipient of energy that you create, or a conduit to the ball. And so the ball is the recipient of energy. And think of it this way. Throughout the swing, if you're swinging about 94 miles an hour, your hands are only moving about 14 miles an hour. So it is that energy that comes up through your body into your arms and then throws that energy down the club, and hence the energy transferred into the ball. But it all starts and begins with your feet and your connection to the ground. And as an example of that, when you see these tour players hit, and as they're making contact with the ball, they're up on their toes. Well, it's because they throw so much energy into the ground that's lifting them off the ground. So energy transfer and the efficiency of footwear is paramount. So with SQAIRZ, because we started with a square toe, now what does that do? First of all, it allows your toes to sit naturally in the shoe. And I give people a little exercise, to really demonstrate the importance of this. If you were to take your hand and put it out in front of you, you move it up and down nice and easily. But then if you squeeze your fingers together and then try to move it up and down, you feel a tension on your wrist. Well, your feet are the same exact way. Is that if you squeeze your toes together, it's putting pressure on your ankle. So it's not freeing up that kinetic chain. So basically what we do is it allows the toes to sit naturally. Now you get better balance, you get better stability, and allows the rest of the foot to operate properly. But because we started with a square toe, we then were able to expand the base under the ball of your foot by 4 millimeters wider than any other shoe. But it doesn't look it. And the reason it does, and it looks symmetrical because of the square toe. But if you had a rounded toe shoe, it would kind of look like a clown shoe or something like that if you widen the base. Sure. Now, manufacturers have been after that for a long time. And the reason is the more you can build out the base of the ball of your foot, that means the better contact you have in the most important area to generate swing speed and ground connection is right there in the ball of your foot. So keep this in mind that the toes are the brakes, and the heels are the accelerator in the golf swing, and the ankles are the propulsion system and the shock absorbers. So the swing really is supposed to happen from the middle of the ball of your foot all the way back to your heel. If a shoe forces you to your toes and you're on your toes, that's a bad thing in the game of golf. So what we did is expanding that base under the ball of your foot. Now you've got more balance, more stability. But what happens is when you flip that shoe over and you look at the total amount of surface contact area with the ground, that means you're getting more coverage on the ground than any other shoe. And that in of itself gives you a more efficient energy exchange. So if you can do that, that results into increased swing speed, which results in increased distance. And it's been proven out. As I mentioned before, we hired Terry Hashimoto, who's a co-founder of Body Track, had his own golf company, played on the tour, and he's an expert in swing analysis. So we sent up shoes to him, and we said, Terry, do us a favor. We think we know exactly why this is happening. We want you to validate this and prove it out and tell us what kind of distance and ball speed increases and swing speed increases. And he came back to us and he said, Bob, it's a lot more than that. He said, what we're seeing is about 11-degree increase in hip rotation. All right. Now, who would think that a golf shoe could impact hip rotation? Again, I can give everybody an example. If you stand up and if you're a right-handed golfer, put all the weight on your right toe and try to turn your right hip back, it's very difficult. But if you put it on your heel and try to turn your hip back, you'll find that you can turn it back very nicely. So basically what I'm telling you is that your feet facilitate hip turn, which a hip turn and shoulder turn are interrelated. So if a golf shoe can improve not only your balance stability, which translates into accuracy, and also the ground force energy exchange, and then hip rotation, and all of these things started to add up. Well, the other thing he saw, which is very enlightening, and I didn't know this at the time, is that one of the key elements of the long drivers is their ability to get the weight or the pressure from the trail side to the lead side quickly. So what does that mean? So in the golf swing, you've got two breaks. You break on the way back. As you get it to the top of the swing, you break and then come through, and you break again, and that forces the flipping of the club head through the ball. So it's those two breaking, but it's how fast you can get your pressure of the weight from the right side to the left side, to the trail side, to the lead side, determines how fast that club comes through the ball. And with our shoes, and we tested against the top 20 best-selling shoes, our shoes help the golfer on every single case get the weight from the right to the left because of the balance, the stability, and the way the shoe was designed. So it's what happened, Fred, is from day one, we tried to get people to try the shoe, and we were making bold claims saying, listen, a golf shoe is equipment. In fact, there are two connections in golf: your hands to the club and your feet to the ground. And I challenge people. I say, which one is more important? And if you think about this, your hands really flow, and everything is done by weight transfer, your balance, your stability, and your hands should follow your body. And so basically, if your feet, your balance, your connectivity, and your weight distribution is off, it's going to make your hands do certain things. So I contend, and a lot of these experts today that they teaching about the golf swing is that, and I'm sure back in your day, our day, is that the swing is built from the ground up. And there's not one sport you can play without good balance. And good balance is more prevalent or needed, should I say, in the game of golf. And so all of these things that we put into this shoe has given golfers a better chance to play better golf. And we're starting to hear that. So people put them on, they wear them, and somebody says, oh, those are the Faldo shoes. Those are the ones that Sir Nick endorses. And they say, yeah. And they ask, how do you like them? You say, oh my God, it's great. The balance, the ability, the structure, the ground connection. Now, the other thing we learned too is there's a thing out there called the Pinehurst Study. And the Pinehurst Study is all about removable cleats on the bottom of your shoe. And so they have proven that if you are playing with a spikeless shoe, one with the nubs on it, if you're playing with those, you are losing 6 yards of distance. And on a side hill or a downhill lie, you're losing 10 yards of distance. And they tested, and this was done by Prize Sports, who's the owner of Soft Spikes, and they did the study. They hired somebody to do the study. So we looked at that and said, we're going to put removable cleats. And just a sidebar here, Ben Hogan had an extra cleat placed on the ball of his right foot, and nobody knew about it for 2 years. An extra cleat on the ball of his right foot. And the reason is because he knew the importance of that trail foot getting ground connection and connected to the ground. And in fact, he had 28 cleats, I believe it was 26 or 28 cleats on the bottom of his feet the last time he played golf, I think it was 13 or 14 on each shoe. Well, the interesting thing is it's all about that ground connection to generate energy exchange with the ground and to generate distance. So all of this now, it's the proof is coming out. And we've got over 40,000 golfers wearing these shoes now who are out there telling people, man, a golf shoe can make a difference. And that's where we're at. And since then, we've attracted people like Jim McLean that...
we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I am so happy this is a podcast and not a radio show, because I need to go back and hear that again. That was, you really... have been doing this a lot since the last time we spoke. I'm going to take a commercial break right here and absorb all this. I'm going to do the best I can. And I think as a podcast listener, I'm going to pause it and go back to the beginning and start again. It was so much. And we'll be back right after this. You really have been talking about this a lot since the last time. You have so much more information than you did a year and a half ago when you were first launching. I am really surprised, blown away, and impressed about all this information. You talk about good balance. Just on our recent Golf Smarter Mulligans episode, when we did with Jamie Zimron, who we call our golf sensei, and she's talking about her program Bliss. B is for balance. She has always been all over that balance, and she's a Aikido black belt, and she brought that to golf. and it's all about balance. And, the fact that you can talk about this, and I think about the old earth shoes, with the wide toes and the clown shoes that you talk about. And all that information, when I wear, I'm holding them up right now. I shouldn't hold them too close to my face, but when the square toe, I never even thought about, letting my toes open up, my feet open up. I think more about using these squares for alignment when I wear these shoes.
It's interesting golf footwear really hasn't evolved like clubs or balls.
No.
They haven't. And in fact, the more I got into this, I would argue with anybody that they'd be hard pressed to point to an area of a golf shoe, excluding squares, that has evolved since or been implemented since the cleat was implemented in 1890. That somebody's implemented something or put something into a golf shoe that actually helps you play better golf. I don't think anybody can name anything. People talk about these lightweight shoes, and I am absolutely against that. And I tell people these sneaker-like lightweight shoes are hurting your game. And
really?
Yes, they are hurting your game. And we have done the research on that, and I'll explain why. So
Please.
In golf footwear, if you can hold a golf shoe by the heel and by the toe and twist it, throw it away, get rid of it. It's not doing you any favors. Because if you think about, you go back to the distances created by body mass, the ground, and gravity, and you think about your body mass, and as you swing, these golfers can put about 1.5 times their body weight and force it into the ground. And let's just take a guy who's 200 pounds. If he could just throw 200 pounds in of force of pressure down on the ground, it comes back up through him. Think about the stress on the foot. Now, the foot can do a lot of different things in that shoe. Number one is there's something called inversion. And if you played golf long enough, you're going to eventually hear the term getting stuck on your right side. And so that means the weight goes to the right and you never get it back to the left. And that generally is a function of your weight shift and where you shift the weight. But let me just say this, that in these lightweight shoes, because they're made out of a mesh material, your foot can literally slide to the right in the shoe. And the way you can tell this, if you take and hold the shoe and press down on the shoe, you watch the material overlap the midsole of the shoe, and it's hanging over by, say, 1/4 inch. That means that your foot can move in that shoe. As you take the club back, your feet, although the shoe is still there on the ground, your feet is moving, sliding to the right. That's number one. So that promotes what we call inversion, and sometimes supination, which means your ankle getting completely turned over. So that means you're completely outside. But inversion really is your foot sliding to the right in the shoe. And we have seen that. We've proven that out, and we know that happens. Number two is that when they try to sell you these shoes, these lightweight sneaker-like shoes, they really beef up the midsole of that shoe, and you see a very thick midsole. And to the, let's call it the untrained eye, so to speak, you look at that and you say, well, that's cushioning. That's comfort. So what is cushioning? Cushioning is energy absorption. So the thicker they make that sole, the less energy that's going down that you're creating. It's absorbing some as it's going down and absorbing some when it's coming back. That means we have seen as much as 2.5 miles an hour in swing speed that's being absorbed by those midsoles.
Wow.
Now, this is the science that's now available to us with pressure mapping, with Body Track, with Swing Guru, with Earnest Sports. All of this stuff, the cameras can pick up all of this stuff, and we can put sensors in the shoes now. There's a lot of these sophisticated training facilities out there that put sensors all over you, but we can watch the pressure on the bottom of your feet. And one of the things that balance is that, as Nick Faldo would say, is you can't find balance during the swing. It's got to start at your neutral position. But what we did is we tested every single golf shoe out there, And you may be surprised to know that 90% of the shoes at a neutral position force your weight from the middle of the ball of your foot to the toes. And that is wrong. It should be forcing it from the middle of the ball of your foot back, because between the heel and the middle of the ball of foot, that's where the swing happens. That's where you generate power from. So setting up at a neutral position, we pressure mapped all of these golfers. We've tested over 250 golfers. And we looked at where they stood with our shoes at a neutral position and everybody else's shoes. And ours put you in the proper position right from the start. But then as you take the club back, they call it a trace line, which is they watch how your body moves. And so they can measure the length of the trace line and seeing if your body's moving back, forth, in, out. They watch the club line too. And of all the shoes they tested, the trace line was one of the biggest things that we noted was it was a shorter trace line, which means you have better balance, better stability. So that was something that for us was really enlightening, was using these things like body track and the pressure mapping systems to really tell golfers, look, your shoe is paramount in the golf swing. And simply by changing your shoe, not going out and buying a $500 driver and a new ball or taking lessons, just by changing your shoe, you can improve a lot of these things like swing speed, distance, trace lines, correct balance, and it's now just getting that out there, Fred, to everybody, showing them the proof. So what we did on our website, which is SQAIRZ.com, and that's SQAIRZ, we do an extensive section on our performance page with a ground force expert that will tell you unequivocally where distance really comes from. He will give you that discussion about Newton's laws and how ground force is created and how that translates into swing speed. And he gives an analogy. He said, if you sit on a swivel chair and pick up your feet and try to hit a golf ball, guess how far it's going to go? Not far at all. But when you look into how the feet are used in the golf swing and what they can influence, he does a very nice thing. Then we did an independent test with Daisy Mae Kenny, who is an engineer and a biomechanist and a swing speed expert. And she does all the sophisticated equipment to measure this stuff. She did an independent test. That's on there. Then Terry Hashimoto, the co-founder of Body Track, he went out and tested well over 200 golfers with our shoes versus competitive shoes, and all the data is there. It's proof. It is proof that a golf shoe can help you play better, and that's what SQAIRZ has done.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't write too many questions down because I only need to throw one out and I can go the whole time here. Let's take another break and we'll be right back. As somebody who's getting Medicare, just keep it there. And, I've had back issues in the past, and my shoes are really important to me. But also, I walk golf courses. That I don't like to be in a golf cart because, to me, I literally, when I'm in a golf cart, I hit the ball, I drive the ball. I hit the ball, I drive to the ball. I don't remember the golf course like I do when I'm walking it, right? But I've had back issues in the past. So I've had to, after lots of conversations with various physical therapists and whatnot, I've had to put inserts in my shoes to help me. And so there's a couple things that you talked about that kind of I need to question you on to get clarification. And that is because I'm walking, I feel like I need a lighter weight shoe. I like the flexibility and pliability of a golf shoe when I'm walking so much. I do put inserts in there. But you're now telling me that those are working against me on my golf swing. So how do I marry the two of stopping hitting a golf ball with my SQAIRZ shoes, but then that walk that I have to do. And I don't have very many level courses here. There's a lot of uneven lies. There's a lot of undulation. And now with a drought here in California, there's a lot of hard ground. So, I don't like waking up the next morning and having a sore body and a sore back.
Yeah. Yep. It's interesting. You're not alone. You're not alone.
No, of course not.
I hear this from a lot of people. It seems comfort is definitely the top thing on people's list when it comes to a golf shoe. And I always tell people that comfort's the entry price into the game of golf. I mean, you can't have a golf shoe that isn't comfortable. And with the square toe and allowing the toes to sit naturally in the shoe and not angle them to the center of the shoe, this will inherently provide more comfort. And you can have comfort in a spike shoe. A lot of people believe that you got to have a spikeless sneaker-like shoe to have comfort. But I will tell you this, is that, as you mentioned, on these uneven lies, golf courses are not built on a flat surface. And because of that, your feet are at certain angles all the time. And if you're wearing a lightweight sneaker-like shoe and that mesh material has got a lot of give in it, then think of this. Your foot is fatiguing itself more than it otherwise would with a good structured shoe. Now, you could build a good structured shoe without a lot of weight. But yes, I can give you a lightweight sneaker-like shoe and make it 6 or 7 or 9 ounces, somewhere in there. And then I can make a shoe that's 17 ounces. And yet that 17-ounce shoe will have more structure. It will feel heavier, but at the end of the day, there's a reason why soccer players who go out there and make cuts and throw a lot of weight here, there, don't wear those lightweight sneaker shoes on the course. They wear the same type of shoe or the material that we use. And the reason for that is because they're stopping, starting, whatever. Very similar to us with a golf swing. We stop, we start, we break, we walk side hill, downhill lies. And so that foot needs that structure, or you're going to provide more fatigue on your feet in those lightweight shoes. Now, we've got tour players. I've got Sepp Straka, who Sepp is out there on the PGA Tour, played in the first round of the FedEx Cup. He was leading the Olympics after day one. He walks for a living, and he wears our shoes. We've got several other tour players that we don't have a signed agreement that are out there wearing our shoes. We got LPGA professionals wearing our shoes and women who are on the Symetra Tour and, the average golfer who likes to go out and walk. So what I'm saying is that the square toe and the design of our shoe will provide more comfort simply because your toes can sit naturally. And at the end of the round, it's not one of those shoes that you say, damn, I got to get this off. I just got to take this shoe off. So that is something we considered very strongly when we launched this. So yeah, we feel that we've married up performance and comfort beautifully.
Yes, you have. And then let's talk about, if you can, and I'm sure you've had this conversation before, but as I said, I put inserts in my shoe so I can elevate my arch a little bit more or give it more support. I don't know if it's cushioning. I think it's more support.
Yeah, it's more support. And I will tell you this, that everybody's feet, when I've been in this business now for over 3.5 years when I started it, but we've been on the market since. It'll be 2 years in this coming January. But interestingly enough is that most people, it's kind of a funny thing, because most people have no clue what size shoe they wear. All right. And I'll bet you if
it varies on manufacturers too. Yeah. I mean, I know with one like a Nike, which I can't even wear Nike shoes, but I'll wear a 9, and some Skechers I'll wear a 10, and So,
right.
Yeah.
So when I ask people, like, say you're a 9.5, I'll bet you in your closet you've got maybe 8.5s, 9s, 9.5s, 10s, 10.5s. Why? Because there's no set, manufacturers can't get it right in terms of a very, homogeneous fit, size 7 to size 7. And so when people buy our shoes, we get people to exchange because they think they're 11. They buy our 11, and it could be too small. It could be too big. So one of the things we do is we offer this 30-day money back or exchange policy that we say, listen, put them on, wear them. If they don't feel right, send them back. We'll give you the right size. But But sizing is one thing, but the shape of a lot of people's feet are different too. Most people have one foot that's bigger than another. My right foot is bigger than my other one by about 1/4 of an inch. And most people are like that. So your feet, a lot of feet are different. So in your case, you've got to bridge that slight gap there. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people that buy these type of inserts to supplement the shape of their feet. But that's a common thing in footwear. But we build shoes for the masses, and then we help that other 20% to adjust. But,
I remember when the first pair that you sent me was a 10, and it was just like I was swimming in them. And because I wasn't used to that much space in a shoe for my toes. And my second toe is longer than my big toe.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that little bit of a, that angle there.
It was interesting. I was, when I first met Rick Smith, and I've got some very elite instructors like Santiago Mari, who's David Ledbetter's right-hand guy, worked with Nick Faldo back in the day when Ledbetter and Santiago changed his swing. So we've got, Santiago from Ledbetter carries, Jim McLean, who is just an all-around great guy, an iconic instructor, very, very analytical about products and putting his name on any product. Rick Smith, same thing. Rick Smith, you take Ledbetter, Smith, and McLean, and you got Pels there that were on the golf channels in the early days. Those were like the Harmons were the iconic people. And
Rushmore of golf instruction.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting when I was talking to Rick Smith the very first time I met him, and we got introduced, and, he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I own a golf shoe." He goes, "SQAIRZ." He goes, "Oh my goodness." He goes, "Look, I had somebody send me a pair and I love them."
Oh my God.
And he says to me, "Look, I used to wear Nikes, and I'm not here to pick on Nike, but," he said, and those lightweight shoes, and he said, I've got blisters, I've got corns and calluses because all of the time the weight shift and my foot moving in that shoe over the years on the range and everything, really it's destroyed my right foot, my trail foot."
Wow.
And he said, "I've been wearing your shoes ever since." And that was the beginning of, and then we started talking about ground force, and it was like two lost souls coming together. And we couldn't get a word in edgewise with one another. We're finishing each other's sentences. And
gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's fun because, he's got a passion, as does McLean and Santia, from helping people play better golf. And people pay a lot of money for these guys to go in and get instruction. And, he looks at people from head to toe and said, "Geez, you got to get fitted for clubs, and you can't be playing with that golf shoe. You've got to get a pair of shoes like SQAIRZ." Why? Because each one of these guys owns TrackMan, Body Track, and all this. And when they took my shoes and I tell them and made my claims, what do you think the first thing they did is, before I put my name on this, I'm going to put it to test. Well, Jim McLean had his son, John, who is a good player, very good player, put the shoes on, and John picked up over 2 miles an hour in swing speed and 8 yards of distance on his driver. And they couldn't believe it. John's been trying to get over, I think it was 123 miles an hour, and finally just automatically, just by changing the shoes, picked up, I think it was like 2.5 miles an hour in swing speed, and they couldn't believe it. And in fact, we got that on video. We posted that out. And so it's out there for everybody to see. But this is, it's the reason why these iconic instructors wear our shoes and they endorse our shoes is because, they know they work. They know they work.
It's pretty amazing that you've got all this science to back this up. I mean, there's a lot of people who come up with products because the design is cool or because of this and that. And again, we talked about how hard it is to crack into the golf market. And you have been pretty lucky because, well, no, it's not luck at all. You've broken into the market because you have a product that people are excited about. Let's get into more name dropping after we take one more break. Bob, you've done some pretty serious name dropping already, and I congratulate you on that because it's not something that a lot of new young manufacturers, as you are, only being on the market for a year and a half, almost 2 years now, can do that. You can't just drop names like Nick Faldo, Rick Smith, Jim McLean, without quality behind it. Who found who when it came to SQAIRZ and Faldo?
Yeah. No,
Faldo. Sorry, Sir Nick.
Yeah.
You're not Edie Falco. No, you're in Sir Nick Faldo. Okay.
Exactly. It's a great story. I'll keep it quick. Because one day my phone rings.
Don't have fun.
My phone rings and I've got a guy on the other end, and I didn't even notice the number. And I pick it up and he says, "Bob, my name is Jeremy Eisenberg, and I represent Sir Nick Faldo. Sir Nick has got a show," and he just went on like this. He goes, he didn't ask me how I was doing it. He goes, "Sir Nick has a show called Faldo Formula where he does on CBS Sports Network that he tests products out, and he does all of these exercises, and he's heard about your shoe, about the balance and stability claims, and he'd like to get a couple pairs to try. Would you mind sending him a couple of pairs?" And I thought to myself, that this guy is talking, that this is a joke. It's one of my friends breaking my chops. And
right.
And
you're from New England. Everybody's busting your chops, so you immediately go there.
Well, so anyway, he and I talk, and I say, "Okay, sure, I'll send him a couple pairs." And about 3 weeks later, I get a call from says, "Sir Nick would like to do a Zoom call with you tomorrow. Are you available?" Of course I am. Yep. So we get on the call, and Sir Nick comes on. He goes, "Bob, how you doing?" I said, "Great, Nick. How you doing, Sir Nick? How you doing?" And he folds his arms. Yeah, he folds his arm and leans back in his chair, and he said, "Tell me about the shoe." So I tell him everything, and he looks at me, and he slams his hand on his desk and said, "I got to tell you something, Bob. These are the best golf shoes I've ever worn, and the swing is built from the ground up. If you don't have balance, you get nothing in the golf swing." Just like that, right out of the shoe. And then he says, "How is it we can work together? I really like these shoes." And that's how it all began. And apparently, from what I learned afterwards, and this is on our website, you see the interview I have with him, and he tells his story, exact same story. And he says, "Look, I put the shoes on when they came. I walked around the house. I took the dogs for a 5-mile walk down to the beach and back. Then the next day I went out and I hit balls in them. Then I played golf with them." And he said, they were for real. He said, "I never would have believed that a golf shoe can make a difference." And sure enough, that's how it happened. So it started with Sir Nick. And then we had iconic instructors like Jim McLean, Rick Smith, Nick Bradley. Nick originally taught Faldo way back in the day, but he was better known for Justin Rose, taking Justin Rose for like number 175 down to number 3, and a lot of European golfers. And then it was, and then we've got about 7 months ago, we partnered up with John Daly. And
how did you get to him?
So he created,
word of mouth, probably, right?
Well, it really was. So I was looking, we created a shoe called America's Soul. And on the bottom it's got USA, and it's all the stars and stripes and all this. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to develop a pair where it was something where we could take a portion of the sales and donate it to our veterans. And so, because I'm very passionate about that, my next door neighbor is a Gold Star family, unfortunately. And so that kind of motivated me to really design something that contribute and donate money to the veterans.
Good for you.
Anyway, I was looking around for charity, and somebody that I know, an acquaintance in the business, says, "Hey, do you know John has partnered up with Major Ed Paluto, and it's called the Heart of a Lion, JDME Foundation, where they donate a portion to Boys and Girls Clubs, the veterans, and St. Jude's Hospital." I said, "Oh, that's perfect." So we get in discussions, and John says, "Look, just send me a couple pairs of shoes. I'll let you know." And sure enough, same thing. He wears them, calls me back personally and says, "Hey, I love these. These are great." And I got to tell you, Fred, I don't know that I've met too many better people than John Daly. I really can honestly tell you that he is such a great person, a great human being. He is so nice, so kind. You can be with him and talking to him, and he makes you feel like nobody else is there, and he's very considerate. I'll text him. He'll text me right back. He'll email me right back. Very responsive. I got to tell you, in the charity, that this guy does is unbelievable. The time that he spends, signing shoes, donating shoes, playing in tournaments and donating money. It's great. It's awesome. It really is. And so John started wearing them. And one of the things is that, John, I like to tell people, John invented the long ball. He was, the grip it, rip it. And what everybody's enamored with Bryson today, that was John Daly many years ago.
Yes, it was.
And, people in our age bracket, we look at him as we couldn't wait for him to get up and swing, then it became Tiger and now Bryson. But John's the original guy. And I had the pleasure of playing with John. And I thought I hit a ball a long way. I played with him and he took a drive. He was like 30 yards beyond me and he still got it. And he said, look, I'm 55 now. I've lost a little over the years, but these shoes have helped me pick it back up. Wow. And he wears them religiously. And he's in video saying this. And when we filmed him, John said, look, I just do better if I'm talking about what I think, for you guys to script something for me, I don't do well at that. And he just first take nailed it. I mean, it was a great, and it's out there on our videos and in our advertising. And so John Daly, Nick Bradley, Sir Nick Faldo, we've got Sepp Strock on the PGA Tour. We've got a lot of great people. And then there's a lot of people out there, in the country music scene, for those of you guys who are listening that are and girls that are country music, Toby Keith, Lee Bryce, Mitchell Tenpenny, Jake Owens, Jason Aldean, and just Riley Green, Luke Combs. A lot of these country music guys love golf. And through my relationship with Colt Ford and John Daly, they requested to get some shoes. And I say, let's just do a little posting about it. And I'm happy to send you a pair of shoes. And, next thing I know, they're posting about it, talking about it. I've seen them at tournaments wearing them. So it's, it's a great honor, and it's been a lot of fun.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to talk about product for a second. First of all, it's something I continue to ask with the various manufacturers I'm talking to over the last couple months, but how's your supply chain? I mean, everybody is impacted so much. How about you?
It's tough out there, Fred. It is. And in my experience is not so much getting the shoe made. Yes, it's a longer timeline getting it made because most every shoe is made in Asia. I mean, it's Asia. That's it. I mean, they all make it over. Why? Because footwear making is not necessarily an automated thing. It is a manual, and it's a skilled, and people have been making shoes in Asia for a long time. And so one of the things is that getting the components is taking a longer lead times. But the biggest problem we have is finding containers to ship it over here. And I'm telling people that, we used to pay about $7,000 to get a container of shoes over here. Now it's above $23,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's almost triple. And it is unbelievable that if you want to book and get this on a ship, it's going to take you 60 days or 45 to 50 days just to get it booked. And then somebody sent me something a couple of weeks ago where they showed the heat map in the port in Los Angeles, and there was about 150 ships sitting off the coast there, off the port, trying to get in. And it's because everything is backed up. The ports are backed up, the shipping lanes, and the shortage in containers because of the whole COVID thing that was spread out around the world, and ships weren't, they rely on the ships to bring them back and forth, and they ended up in one area and not in another. And so the cost of shipping, getting containers, getting materials it's terrible. It's the worst that I've ever seen it in my years of being in products business. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Really
and I
tough.
I don't see it getting better for a while. I really don't. And it's going to drive prices up considerably because everything is more expensive. Shipping is more expensive. Materials are more expensive. It's something that being direct to the consumer as we are, we can absorb a lot of these costs.
Sure.
But if you're at retail, these retailers and manufacturers have got to raise prices. It's just inevitable. But
are you in retail outlets? Are you in big box or pro shops?
No, we've chosen. Yeah, we've chosen not to do that. It's one of the things that's great for us in building this brand is we know who every one of the people who bought our shoe is. Yeah. We know them, and we've got information that we can send them back and say, thank you. And by the way, I've got something new here. And so we can create a relationship. Now, you can't do that at retail, because you never know who's buying your shoe. And so, we feel that we can represent the brand better. And also we can keep that information exchange and create the relationship. Yet, the retailers want their margins. We could take those margins, invest in new products, and we can do creative marketing programs and creative promotions. So, we're just going to stick with direct to the consumer.
Too many more questions. I'm going to take another break because I want to do another segment with you. We'll be right back. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans, episode 130, is a really fun conversation with author Josh Karp talking about his book, Straight Down the Middle. The book follows Josh's adventures and misadventures as he follows a path of enlightenment to better golf. Now, many of the teachers he worked with in writing this book are regular mental game coaches and, I'm using air quotes here, spiritual authors that we've featured over the years on Golf Smarter.
I'd read Golf in the Kingdom, I'd read Bagger Vance, I'd read Zen Golf, and I was kind of two minds. Half of me is like, I get it. I totally get this golf, meaning of life, Buddhism, quantum physics deal. And the other half of me was like, come on, this is Pat Summerall and Jack Nicklaus and plaid pants. There is not some big link. This is a big excuse for guys to say like, oh, it's a spiritual experience. I'm going to go play 18 holes. So I started taking these lessons. I thought I'm going to test this. So what I did really was, half the book is pretty much me taking non-traditional lessons. And the other half is me playing golf with various kind of spiritually inclined golfers or golfers who are spiritual people.
That's episode 130, featuring author Josh Karp on Golf Smarter Mulligans, being released this Friday. Now, both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are available from where you're listening to this podcast right now. That's 2 Golf Smarter episodes each week. Please write a review, subscribe, and follow both of our golf podcasts so that you can download or stream the brand new episode when it becomes available on your favorite listening device. One of the things I need to ask you about, because I found this to be one of the more unique elements to my SQAIRZ shoe that I'd never seen anywhere before, and that is something really simple but very noticeable: shoelace.
Yeah, we get a lot of very positive, great feedback on that. And it's interesting, when I started this this whole project, BOA was just kind of coming out, and the BOA system at the time pulled in the shoe from the sides, and they were, they had their issues. And I
like BOA. I really do like BOA.
Well, I was just going to say, and today I'm a big fan because they have redesigned, done a bunch of different things to pull the top down nicely on the shoe. Because what happens is that you don't want your foot moving in the shoe.
Yeah, I want to stop you for just a second and define, because not everybody would know what the BOA system, BOA system is. And I think they were originally designed for ski boots.
I believe so, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and those, if you've seen golf shoes that have this little knob in the back, or maybe even the more recent ones are on the top, and you click the BOA system in and then turn the knob, and it tightens the shoe where a lace tightens it at the top. This has wires going through the shoe and just hugs your entire foot around your foot. Am I correct in that description?
I would say that the previous, when they launched this, it kind of pulled it in more from the side than the top down. And really the key is the top down, is bringing the upper material on the top of your foot down on top of your foot because you don't want your foot to move in the shoe. And today, the BOA system does just that. They've got a very good product. But what I said is that it's a very expensive proposition to put the BOA in from a manufacturer's perspective, and it usually increases the price of the shoe by about $20. So if you go online and you look at one with and one without, it's between $15 and $20 price difference. But I said, you know what, there's got to be a simpler way to do that. And one of the things we looked at is the importance of bringing that material down, locking it in place, and so you never had to tie your shoe again, and that it didn't come loose throughout the round. So what we did is we printed silicone on the top of the lace in these cool little squares, and as you pull them through the eyelet, you feel this little click, this little rubbing. And what it does is once you get to the desired level of comfort, you just tie the shoe at that point, and it should stay there the rest of the round. And it's something that, you know, we sell them independently on the website, and we sell a lot of those laces. And, you know, we're very proud of that. You know, the other thing, too, a lot of people give us a lot of positive comments that in addition to the shoe is the sock. We developed that sock that's a very... It's, in my opinion, it is the best sock, definitely the number one golf sock, the best golf sock ever made, because we spent a lot of time engineering that. We looked at the best running socks there were out there, and we looked at where you needed that extra emphasis on the bottom of your feet, and we looked at pressure points in the golf swing. And so we built that up in those areas to provide a little more extra comfort in those areas. And again, with the square toe, you know, we usually say, why would you wear a rounded toe sock with a square toe shoe? So we had to develop a sock that allowed the toes to sit naturally. So we're really proud of that sock. In fact, you know, we provide that sock to people, and we sell them in 3-packs, and that's just another thing that we're really proud of. But we launched the ladies product this year. That's gone very well. One of the things historically in golf footwear making is that they do what they call shrink and pink. And what that is they take a men's model and they keep shrinking it down. They throw a little pink on it and they call it a ladies shoe.
God. And not too condescending.
No, but it's a fact. And the reason is because it's a very expensive proposition to build out a whole new size line and to go back and engineer based upon the shape of a woman's foot, because women's feet are anatomically different than a man's foot. They have shorter arches and wider base and several other things. So we went to the drawing board and designed a shoe, and specifically for women. And again, they appreciate that room in the toe box, because a lot of women from years of cramming those toes into these high heel shoes develop bunions, a corns, a hammer toe. So you know, they appreciate that. And so we're very proud of that we launched that out, and it's doing fairly well. And, you know, we want to keep going after that market, because it's about 23% of the golf industry right now is the ladies market. So,
that's great.
Yep.
That's
so we've
great.
got a lot of new things coming out in the horizon.
Yeah. Well, what about the latest things? Because, you know, last time we talked a year and a half ago, this is probably V1 of the SQAIRZ shoe. What have I missed? What do you got?
So we just launched back in May, we just launched our new speed model. It's called SQAIRZ Speed. And it's got a redesigned collar on the top of the shoe. And we took a little weight out of the shoe, about 1.5 ounces out. Ooh. And again, it's got the same structure, the same features. We did a translucent sole with the name SQAIRZ. You can see it beautifully on the bottom of the sole now. So, you know, when our tour players wear it and they're up on their toe on Sunday, you can see it on TV. And
good job.
Yeah. So we did a couple of things there. We made it look a little more athletic looking, and we're excited.
How do you do that?
So
what does that mean?
So it's really the design of the upper. We squared off around the U-throat here, which is at the bottom of the laces. We squared that off, and then the other one, it was more rounded, so it looks a little more sleek up the top of the shoe.
Right.
And then on the styling of the shoe, again, it's a lot more contemporary looking. And the way that our designer did this, it's very, very cool looking in the front. So it's an ultra contemporary looking shoe that really kind of it fits in with the competitive models, their look and feel of those shoes. But the one thing we're going to do in the spring, and we're going to launch at the PGA show, is what we call the classic line. We're going to revise the line that you have and really make it a classic and go back to those classic looks back about 30 years ago and have some fun with that upscale country club look. One other thing I did want to mention is we just launched a new shoe that's launching this tomorrow.
Well, so wait, now we're recording this program is going to be come out on the second week of October. So the shoe is already out, right?
Yeah. So it's going to happen that it's in the month of October to bring education awareness for breast cancer. We partnered up with the American Cancer Society, and we're launching a pink shoe. It's a women's and a man's shoe, and under the men's they have on the men's they have a program called Real Men Wear Pink. And so under that program, what we're doing is for every shoe that we sell out there, the pink shoe, we donate $30 a pair to the American Cancer Society. And our goal is to donate a check somewhere north of $130,000 by the end of this year. So,
wow.
I lost a brother to cancer. I don't think, I don't think there's anybody listening here that doesn't know somebody who's had cancer, and breast cancer is a form of cancer. So we're trying to call awareness to breast cancer, but cancer in general. And, we're supporting that initiative, and we're very proud of that as well.
Well, you should be, and we're proud of you for doing that. Not a lot of manufacturers look towards giving back, and I'm really impressed and proud of you guys for doing that. Thank you. And what do you got for the holiday season? Anything exciting happening for holiday shopping? Because that's why you're on now. I want people to make their holiday wish lists that include golf products, and I think this is about as unique as we can get.
Yeah, we got a great program we've created for Christmas time. We just launched back in the spring something called slides. That's more of a contemporary term. You and I know it as flip flops or sandals, and I call them sandals, but the kids today call them slides. And it's a very comfortable, very, very comfortable sandal that has got a square toe. And it's a really cool design that we sell on our website for $49.99. And so what we're doing for Christmas is usually when people buy for the holiday season, they'd like to give a bunch of presents. So what we do is you buy a pair of shoes and you get free a pair of socks, a carry bag, and a pair of slides. So it's over $100 in value of products that once you buy the shoes, you get a free pair of sandals, a free pair of socks, and a free carry bag. So when you give that gift, and again, that goes with the men's and the ladies' shoes, that when you give that gift, you're giving 4 gifts. And
wow.
It's very powerful. It's something that we really wanted to do something strong. And I'm excited about that for the holiday season.
And what's your price points?
$199 for everything.
And that is such a reasonable price for a pair of golf shoes. I mean, the last time I was considering buying a pair of golf shoes, I went, what am I doing? I'm just going to keep wearing the SQAIRZ. But it was like, as much as I play golf, and I try to play twice a week, I shouldn't be scrimping on what I'm paying for a pair of shoes. They're like the most important part, because if I have any aches and pains, it's not because of my clubs. It's my feet. Right?
Yeah. And the other thing too is that you've been around the game long enough, and we both know that we both know that, look, the club head and the driver, their technology, when people talk about distance today, really it's the shaft. The shaft has improved significantly, but the USGA has stepped in and they've regulated club head expansion and, how fast the ball comes off the club and all that. So look, it's really basically a commodity market. But what they've done, what clubs have done that I really like is they've really improved for the average guy off center hits. So that's really the technology today, that you can hit better shots if you hit them off center. It's not the distance that it provides. You think you're getting more distance. Why? Because you're hitting better shots more consistently because of the design. Now, when I look at shoes, I say, look, if you change your shoes, if you get a pair of our shoes, you will improve your game. So for $199 versus buying a new driver for $500 that you may pick up a couple extra yards, that's a smart investment because, people say, what is the one product that you use on every single shot, including practice shots? I say the shoes. Now, people would argue the ball, and I said, no, if you swing a couple of times before you practice, you're not hitting the ball. So,
And how many balls do you go through in a round? And how many pairs of shoes do you go through in a round? Right? How many rounds does it take to go through a pair of shoes versus a golf ball?
That's it. So, again, it's I'm trying to get everybody to think about the feet and say that golf shoes are equipment. They're equipment, and you need to take a serious look at the golf shoe you're wearing.
Absolutely. Bob, it was so great to have you back on the show because you had so much new information, new product, new energy. I'm happy for you, man. I'm really happy for you and so glad that I can share this information with our global audience. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. SQAIRZ. SQAIRZ. There's no U there. You just automatically want to put a U when you type a Q. SQAIRZgolf.com. Bob, thanks, man.
Thank you, Fred. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Now, who would have thought that a conversation about golf shoes would be so, I'll let you fill in the blank there because so many adjectives that come to my mind may not be how you're going to describe today's episode, but that's the point. My goal is to get as many unique voices with different perspectives on game improvement as possible so that you can decide for yourself what works and what doesn't for your game. So as I've said in the past, if you don't like what you heard today or don't agree, stay tuned because our next episode could be completely different and strike a chord for you like none other. Thanks again for your patience, tolerance, feedback, and participation. And Golf Smarter is your podcast for Caddy. And like caddies, we graciously accept any and all tips for services provided. The tip jar is now open. Just click on donate at golfsmarter.com.